Hi everybody, welcome to today's video. So today we are going to be exploring the principle of cause and effect from the book, The Kybalion. If you haven't checked out my other videos yet on the Kybalion, I will have them linked below. So you can go ahead and watch those to catch up to where we are now. These principles can work as standalones, but they do build off of each other within the book. So thank you guys for being here, and let's go ahead and just dive right in to learning about the principle of cause and effect. So remember, the Kybalion is pretty much writing about this theory of reality, that there are these 7 laws or principles that underpin all of reality, whatever realm you are working in. And when you know these principles, you are able to use them to affect your life for the better and just greater understand reality and maybe the purpose of reality. So how do they define cause and effect within the book? They say, every cause has its effect. Every effect has its cause. Everything happens according to law. Chance is but a name for law not recognized. There are many planes of causation, but nothing escapes the law. The law is pretty much stating, hey, nothing in this world happens by chance. Why is that though? Why does nothing happen by chance? If chance were a thing, so something happening with no rhyme or reason, it's subject to no law, we would be operating outside of the Kybalion's rule book pretty much, because if you check out the earlier videos, we talk about, hey, these are the laws about the all. You can look at the all like the creator. That's what the Kybalion is kind of deeming as this overarching power, the thing that has power over everything. So there's nothing outside of the all. That's one of the fundamental rules they put forth about the all. So chance cannot be a thing because that would indicate it's outside of the all, and there could be nothing outside of it. Therefore, nothing can happen by chance. Every cause has an effect. There are reasons why things are happening the way they're happening, even if we cannot perceive of those reasons all the time. So the book gives this great example of when you roll a dice. You may not see the amount of force behind the throw. You may not know the material of the table. You may not know of what the position the dice was in when you originally threw it, right? But when we take together all of these factors, and even factors outside of that, we would know exactly why the dice ended up on the side it was. But to us, we just look at the roll of a dice like, oh, it's just chance, however it ends up landing. But it's really not. It has all of these unseen causes. And so the Kybalion is trying to pretty much teach you that everything in life is being caused by something, even if you aren't perceiving of those causes. So they expand on this further in the book by saying, every thought we think, every act we perform has its direct and indirect results, which fit into the great chain of cause and effect. So everything is linked through time, the past, the present, and the future. So on a larger scale, the theory of reincarnation, so we've lived past lives. What we've done in a previous life leads to a certain level of karma that we then have to account for in this life. And then what is done in this life impacts karma and carries forth into a next life. So this great chain of cause and effect, linking together lifetimes, linking together the past, present, and the future on this larger scale of existence. But then we also see this on a micro level. So it's not just on this big, large scale, as above, so below. In our life now, the thoughts we think, the acts we do on small scales and big scales within our life create results out in our physical reality, this chain of cause and effect on the micro scale in your life. We have examples of cause and effect in multiple realms. We see this in the emotional realm, past experiences creating certain triggers, these triggers that affect your behavior in the present. We see this in larger concepts like I just talked about, karma, a cycle, the theory of reincarnation. We also see this in the mental plane, in the thoughts we think, inevitably to some capacity, creating the reality in front of us. So a big question that arises when reading something like this, that there's this great chain of cause and effect set in place by our past actions. Are we then bound by this chain? Do we have free will? Or are we going to be pretty much bound to whatever we've done in the past, whether that's in the life now or potentially a prior life? So the book says no, in a way. Let's take a look. The teachings are that a man may be both free and yet bound by necessity, depending upon the meaning of the terms and the height of truth from which the matter is examined. The ancient writers express the matter thus: the further the creation is from the center, the more it is bound. The nearer the center it reaches, the nearer free it is. Mark Gilbert has a really great interpretation of this. So what he says is, the farther away you are from source, how the Kybalion would deem it, the farther you are away from acknowledging that the divine spark of the all, or source, exists within you, the further away from the center you are, i.e. the more bound you are to this chain of cause and effect. So what does that really mean? The more bound you are, the farther you are away from understanding that you are part of the divine. And to that level, you have the power to shape the reality around you, to have free will, to make choices, and to create the life that you've come here to create. Conversations with God talks about this as well. The journey of the soul is to create something new here, to create for itself. So when you are a victim to circumstances, when you are more and more bound to the chain, the outside circumstances around you are what control your thoughts and your choices. And you may believe that those things stop your free will. Like Mark Gilbert says, the more that you recognize your connectedness to the divine source, that is the nearer the center, the more you recognize the freedom you have to break the chain of these past worldly events. So in your life, are you the cause or are you the effect? How do you know which one you are? Well, this is a really great interpretation from Robert Althus. So do you blame circumstances instead of understanding past choices, thoughts, and actions create these circumstances? Do you react to your reality instead of creating it? Or do you call things luck or fate instead of knowing luck is governed by a deeper law? So when you have something happen to you, do you blame circumstances? Or do you understand that your past decisions, your choices in the moment, your actions and your thoughts are creating these circumstances around you? When something does happen to you, do you constantly find yourself in a state of reactivity instead of a state of creating? So continuing on here, from Robert Althus' work on this. So an important thing to do in order to break free of this state of reactivity is to own what you have created. So taking responsibility for the creation in front of you. And if you aren't living a life that you do want to be living, truly looking at your past actions and seeing why that is and the choices you've made and how they've led you to where you are today, whether that's a bad thing or a good thing. Look into where am I an effect rather than a cause. So also understanding that the actions you are taking on a day-to-day basis are the causes for the future. So one small thing you do on a daily basis can change the course of your future. A lot of times we're stuck in this mindset of everything we have to do has to be like this huge thing. I think a lot of it is with the emergence of like social media and greater and greater technology, which is a good thing, right? We want to see technology evolve. However, we're so used to like instant gratification now that we are expecting everything to be this big grand reaction or effect constantly, when in actuality it's the small things that we're doing on a day-to-day basis that are going to create the reality in the future. Decide what you truly want out of this life, and that can be a whole other video in of itself, right? What do you truly want in this life? How do you find what you want? That's a whole other video. However, once you have a slight idea of what you want to be striving towards, you want to take small actions in your day-to-day life towards that thing. When you do make choices, think to yourself, how would the person who's living in the life that I want, how would they make this choice? Because if you aren't where you want to be right now, you can't rely on the decision making you would naturally make. And so you have to put yourself in the position of the person you would like to be and make decisions from that viewpoint. And this may feel unnatural to you at first because this isn't your natural set point yet. And examine your life and really decide, where am I acting out of alignment to what I want? You have to be honest with yourself. And this is for anything, right? I want to move up in my career. Well, on a day-to-day basis, what truly are you doing to move up in your career? This is one of the most important laws. It makes you take responsibility for the choices you are making in the here and now. But it also gives you the hope that things can change for the better. And we learned in the principle of rhythm that every downward swing will inevitably have an upward swing. But this law expands on that, because you can choose the direction of your upward swing. You can choose the life you want, and it is possible for you to do so. So don't leave things up to luck or chance. The nature of the universe, in theory, is mental. Thank you guys for watching today. I will have links to my resources below. If you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. I will be posting more videos. We have one last video in this series. So thank you guys again so much for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed it and gained something from it, and I will see you soon.